For IRS Form W-4S. This is the request for federal income tax withholding from sick pay. So this is not a mandatory tax form. However, if you are entitled to sick pay and you do believe that you will be taking an extended amount of sick leave or sick pay during the tax year, it might be a good idea for you to consider either adjusting your tax withholdings elsewhere or simply by filing this form. So there are many different versions of Form W-4. We'll put links to the articles and videos that we've created on the rest of those versions in the show notes. However, this one specifically is for sick pay. And one of the good things about this form is that you can specify an exact dollar amount that you would like to be withheld from your taxes or for tax purposes. So what we're going to do is we're going to break this form down into two parts. The top part right here, the where it's delineated by this separation line, this is the part that you would submit to your third-party payer of sick pay. So generally, your employer might not be responsible for sick pay. They might pass that off onto an insurance company, like if you're on disability or something like that. So you would process this with your filer. And then the second part is the worksheet, which you don't need to turn in. You should keep it for your tax records. So we'll go through the calculations because those calculations kind of help you estimate your current year tax liability. And then from that, you'll be able to estimate how much you think you should have withheld from your sick pay payments. So let's go ahead and start at the top of the form. We've got our taxpayer, John Cudo. We entered his information up top with his social security number, home address. Even though it's not stated in the form instructions, if you've changed your address relatively recently, it is always a good idea that you update the IRS with your address change. You can do that by filing IRS Form 8822, which is the change of address form. We'll put a link to those that article and video in the show notes as well. So we've included John Doe's address here. His claim or identification number, we'll just assume that a sick payer basically is using a social security number for the claim number, but you would have to refer to your sick pay payers policies if they have any. If they don't specify what to put in here, then you can leave it blank. And then you specify the certain dollar amount of withholdings. So there are certain criteria that the IRS has. Specifically, you cannot use, you have to round to the nearest dollar. So you have to use whole dollars. You can't put in like $250.48. You have to say $254 or $253. There's a certain minimum amount of tax that has to be withheld. And I believe it's $4 per day or $20 per week or $88 per month. So, and if you want to double check, you can look at this guidance right here. And then finally, the net amount of each sick pay payment that you receive cannot be less than $10. So for example, we've requested $254 being withheld from sick pay. This isn't going to work if John expects to receive $260. So just keep that in mind as you're going through this form. So the worksheet, you can put in a dollar amount without having to complete the worksheet, but I will go through the worksheet just so that you can kind of imagine what your situation may look like. This isn't exactly the same as the worksheet that you would find in IRS Form 1040-ES, but it basically has the same principles. You'll enter the amount of adjusted gross income. You'll net out any deductions that you plan to take. You'll calculate the tax based on the tax rate schedule, subtract out credits. You'll subtract out any income tax that you may have paid either through other withholdings or by estimated tax payments. And then finally, you'll calculate the number of sick pay payments that you need to pay the rest of your taxes. And that's how we come up with this. So let's go through this step by step. So in this case, adjusted gross income, we put in $100,000. That's what John Doe expects to receive an AGI. And if you remember, adjusted gross income doesn't count any of the deductions that you would find on Schedule 1. So things like IRA contributions that you're deducting, student loan interest, any of that stuff, those are considered above the line deductions. So you take all those out before you reach adjusted gross income. So $100,000, and then you can either itemize deductions on Schedule A, and if you choose to do that, you can put in a rough estimate of what you think you'll be itemizing, or you can use the standard deduction table that is on the back of this form. So right here has the information. And again, we're recording this in 2024, so a common mistake for a lot of taxpayers is that they might refer to 2023 or prior year instructions. Don't do that. Make sure that you're using the 2024 most up-to-date information. So in this case, John Doe is married, filing jointly, so he enters a standard deduction of $29,200. So he nets that out and he arrives at $70,800. Now again, you're going to use the tax rate schedule that meets your tax filing situation. In this case, John Doe is married filing jointly, so he used these tax tables right here. He's squarely in the 12% tax bracket with his spouse. And when we did that calculation, we arrived at a total of $8,032 of expected tax. In line 5, we're going to calculate any tax credits. There's a whole slew of tax credits that could be available based on your tax situation. So in our article, we actually outline all of the tax credits that are stated in IRS Publication 505. Feel free to take a look at that to see if any of those may apply to your situation. And if you look at our article, within that list of credits, each one of those has a link to a comprehensive tax article specifically about that credit. So if you wanted to learn more about education credits, you can look at our article and then you can drill down into the information you would see for IRS Form 8863, which is the education credits tax form. So from there, we'll subtract out the credits from the estimated tax. And in this case, we arrive at $7,032. In line 7, we put in an estimate of federal income tax withheld or to be withheld from other sources. So this could be from your previously filed Form W-4S, if you have one on file. It could be from your regular W-4. It could be online payments that you made through the IRS website, or estimated tax voucher payments that you made with Form 1040-ES. So in this case, we decided that John Doe has already made about $5,000 worth of payments. That's an arbitrary number. That's not a calculation here. This is just offline calculation for John Doe's sake. So from this, the line 8 difference is $2,032. And John Doe expects to receive 8 sick pay payments. We'll just say that they're bi-weekly, so he expects to be out of work for about 4 months. And so 8 into 2032 gives us $254, and that's the number that we carry up here. So again, all of these numbers that we calculated, the only ones that were not arbitrarily derived would be the standard deduction, which we pulled from the deduction table, the tax, which we pulled from the tax rate schedule, and then the all of the actual calculations, like subtract line 5 from line 4, so on and so forth, and then finally the calculation down here. So the $5,000, the $1,000 of tax credits, and the $100,000 of AGI, those are all numbers that I came up with offline. So just to avoid confusion, I do get a lot of questions on the YouTube videos about where certain numbers came from. So unless otherwise stated, these are numbers that I plugged in just for illustrative purposes, unless we actually walk through the calculation. So that's all we have for this tax form. And again, we do go into a little bit more detail about some of the filing considerations in our article. So you can check it out at teachmepersonalfinance.com. Type in IRS Form W-4S or W-4S, and you'll see our article up here. We'll also put a link to the article in the show notes, as well as relevant forms that we've discussed in this video. So if you like our articles, please subscribe to our newsletter. And if you like our YouTube videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you have any questions, comments, or if there's a topic that you'd like to see discussed in an upcoming video, please hit me up in the comments section. Thank you very much and have a great day.